What's up, guys? Dark Dally here, and today I want to go over my Thrustmaster T16000 HOTAS setup, how I customized it, how I mounted it to this, and this could be a desk or whatever, but how you want to mount it to anything, how to customize it, and how to adjust certain settings on it. All right, now I wanted to do, and I thought about doing a review of this. Now I'm sorry about this. This is actually, so this is, so I use this for Elite Dangerous. You could use, obviously, you can use it for FSX or, whatever flight sim you play. But I think this is kind of the norm, this setup, or at least this stick and throttle for Elite Dangerous. That's what I use it for. Now I have these other keyboards over here, and I also have a keypad here, and those are for my own optional controls. And we can talk about how I did some of that as well, since we are talking about adjustment, mounting, and things like that. So what I have is I have a board across my lap, and I also actually have, oh yeah, I want to apologize for the camera quality. You guys know this is the best camera I have, because I usually don't do footage. I usually do game footage. So it's just the best I've got. I also do have this pad which velcros on the bottom of this. Now, what this is, so I got this from Walmart for like $10 or something, and what this is it's a it's made to sit in your lap and hold a laptop. Now you can see I'm holding my throttle because right now I have my throttle unmounted. Because I'm going to show you how I mounted it. So I'm holding it so it doesn't slide off. Okay, so you can see what I've done is I've routed all the wires through this, and then I have all the wires kind of stippled together or whatever here with bands of Velcro to keep them as like one cord, and then I have them plugged into a powered USB adapter. I would definitely recommend that. Now let's talk about some of the obvious modifications I've done here. First, let's talk about why is my flight stick so ugly. Let's talk about that, and then we're going to talk about mounting this guy and adjusting it, because this particular piece of the HOTAS setup is the one I see complained about the most, the throttle. Now the throttle is great, but it has a lot of people asking how they adjust it and such, and that's what we're going to be talking about. First, okay, so my stick. Now these are some custom modifications after... So I'm trying to get back in frame, but I had to have my camera low enough to see. All right, so what I have is, yes, I have black duct tape and rubber wrapped around my thing, and it looks really ugly. It looks really ragged, but I'll tell you, it's very comfortable. Well, here's what I did. I originally tried to kind of construct a boot, because some people say that after extended use, like dirt and grit will get into this like there's like the open ball joint down there, and because of I'm a gamer, and I snack and my room is dusty and stuff would get in there. So I started making a boot, but it wasn't really working. But then I found the duct tape just felt really comfortable. So I went ahead and wrapped the rest of the stick, sans the button areas, that is, except for those, with duct tape. It gives it a grippy feel, and it feels like it's got a nice leather grip. And if it gets too dirty or whatever, I can just rip off this tape, put new tape, or it'd probably be easy to clean. That's just what I do. I'm not necessarily recommending that. That's one fun thing you can do to customize your stick. That was just my own thing, and it does make it look ugly, but when I'm playing a flight sim, I'm not looking at my stick. I'm holding on to my stick, so I'd rather it feel good than look good. Now, that said, I did the same with my throttle. Once I found that felt so good, I just put some duct tape here on the back where my hand sets. Now let's talk about mounting tricks and adjustment. First of all, before you go mounting your throttle, I will have to apologize for the camera quality again and the lighting. Yeah, that's what we can do, right? So when I first got my stick, let me raise this up a little bit. When I first got my stick, I found it was really notchy, and that was really bad, particularly in Elite Dangerous when I was on like an approach to a station and I'm trying to modulate my throttle just right, and this thing kept jerking back and forth. Now, it probably says this in the instruction manual. I didn't catch it. I'm sure like most of y'all, you kind of throw that stuff aside and just get to playing, because the one reason that this setup is so popular with Elite Dangerous, for instance, is because it's completely plug and play. There's already a pre-configured control setup for this, as probably with many other games. Now, so slide the throttle all the way forward, and there's a, well, I don't think you have to, but I did. There's an adjustment screw right here. So this being, throttle all the way forward, which for me is throttle all the way back. I have an inverted axis. So anyway, so I throttle all the way down to the front, I should say. And, it's right here, there's two screws. This screw right here in the back, this is the adjustment screw. It's a Phillips head I think a number 1 or a number 2 would work in there. What I actually used, I mean, if you want to talk about, I don't think it matters. There's basically no resistance in turning this. I actually used my fancy Matco. I think this one was like 40 bucks. This is specifically for carburetor float bowl screws, and I chose this one because they're kind of in between a number 1 and number 2. You know, they're really annoying screws, and that's why I have this fancy screwdriver. I used this one. There was no resistance, but it looks like basically any normal screwdriver would work. Any, you know, anything you'd find around the house. Basically no resistance. Let's move on past that. So yeah, counterclockwise to loosen it, clockwise to tighten it. It comes a little tight. A lot of people complain about their Thrustmaster throttle being notchy. I loosened it a few turns, and now, okay, there's a little bit, but I don't want so much the thing flops around. There's a little bit of resistance. Now, one other thing you can do, and I've read this on forums, I've not done it myself. If you put your fingers and you feel in here, you can feel there's metal rods that slides on each side. Just get some grease. Like I'd recommend, well, when I was a mechanic, I had some generic grease I used for everything. I used this little thing of bearing grease I used for everything. Just dip your finger in some of that and hit it on these, or like Teflon grease or something, and then just work this back and forth and you'll be fine. Maybe customize, and I've thought about doing this, I haven't done this yet, customize some kind of felt covering over this to keep, you know, dirt and debris from getting in here, because if you grease this, say from experience as a mechanic, if you grease that, it's going to attract more dirt and grit and might actually make it worse. It comes lubricated, I'm just saying, so I want to put that out there. I'm not recommending you grease this unless you cover this up, because more grease attracts dirt and debris. Now let's talk about mounting this, and I'll show you an easy trick on how to do that. So here's how I mounted this stuff. Okay, first of all, the keypad is just Velcroed. This is just a simple programmable numeric keypad that I was able to program macros to. I don't recommend the one I bought. I'm not going to blast the name of their company here, but the one I got, not the best, but it works for me. I made it work. All right, so here's how I have this mounted. So what I did was very simple. Okay, I'm not going to tell you how to drill the holes. I'm going to show you how to drill the holes. I'm just not going to show you what bit to use or anything like that, because if you know how to use a drill, then you know how to find a bit. I will show you how to mark the holes. What I did was I took the throttle into the hardware store and simply walked through the hardware aisle. See, there's 2 mounting holes. There's one here and there's one here diagonally. Oops. I got little washers here. Anyway, I got washers. Let me put that down. I walked through the hardware aisle of the store until I found, I went for 10 millimeter hex heads because the most common size of, you know, fastener. They screw right in. Just find the. So I just walked into Ace Hardware, literally holding this thing, and said, "Look, I'm just trying to find some screws that screw in here. Make sure you find the proper length to go through the thickness of wood you need." I got fairly short ones because I'm only going through this much wood. So don't get them too long, or else they might they might bottom out in there, and then you're screwed. And then let me put my throttle down here. And then I've got some washers. Just feel through the bends and find washers. And it's hard to see. My lighting's it's my screens. I can't figure out how to get them stopping from putting light on me. Just some washers to go there. All right. So how to drill the hole? How do you space the holes? Because that for me was the trickiest part. Because it's like once you mount them down, they're mounted. You can't move them. That's kind of the idea. And I was like, well, I want as much room as I have in this board. I'd probably actually rather have these farther apart, but as this board is all I have to work with, because I just sit in like a little gamer chair. I don't have a proper desk. I game like this, and then I have my keyboards mounted up here on a, this is like a TV dinner tray holder or something I got from Walmart for like 20 bucks, and it tilts forward and it lets me put 2 keyboards perfectly on it. One keyboard, again, we can go in this if you want. I can show you how I set this up for Elite Dangerous. I have that one all marked, torn up, and hotkeyed. And then the other one's normal, an actual normal keyboard just for typing. Right, let's move back to this. Let's show you my trick here. What you're going to need is masking tape and something pointy. So here's how I marked where I wanted the holes. Because again, once you drill them, that's kind of where you have to mount it. And here's the thing. They have to be the exact distance apart, or else this thing won't mount, and then you have to re-drill. So here's what you do. Here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to turn our throttle upside down without binding the cord, and take some masking tape. And now here's the trick to doing this. Take masking tape, and you want it longer than you need. Place it on one hole. Oops. Now, it's not very sticky, but that's kind of the bonus side of masking tape, is that it isn't incredibly sticky. It makes it easy to peel off. Make a straight line. There we go. Across your thing. It's also easy to tear. I should be able to tear it with one hand. Yeah, okay. So here's what I did. And you can take this off and readjust as you need. There, you just make sure it runs diagonally across both holes. So I have a piece of masking tape across both holes. Alright, so once you have this done, we need to identify where the holes are. So I'll just use the same screwdriver I used to adjust it. Find those two holes. So there's one. The other one should be, but I'm not feeling... Oh, there it is, right there. Okay, so here's what I did. Alright, so I then poked holes with the screwdriver where the bolts go. Now, we're going to want to put this, place the throttle where you want it to be mounted on your desk or whatever it is. Luckily, I didn't do it on desk. Luckily, I did it on a board so I can pick it up and show you. So notice how the tape sticks out from the sides. That's what we want. Once you get this mounted, now I'm going to show you what to do once we've done this. I think you already see where I'm going with this. I hope so. We're going to tape down. I'll show you. Oops. Once we get this where we want it mounted, we're going to simply pull these tight, pull everything tight, of course. And we're going to tape down those excess bits that were sticking out. I'll show you what I mean. Notice here I've taped down those excess bits. The reason for that is so that we can carefully lift the throttle up off the tape. And let's see if I can set the throttle on the ground here. Okay. And so now we have this. Now the tape is exactly where we want to end, as you can see. So we'd want to drill the holes here and here. It's basically when we want to drill the holes. Do leave room for error. That's one reason I'm using washers. You noticed I have washers on these bolts because I did mess. If you mess up by a millimeter, and if the hole's the exact same size as the bolt and the hole, and you're off by 1 millimeter, yeah. So you may have to make the holes bigger. Hence washers if you screw up a little bit. But this is the best way, you know, right here, to create a template for where to do it. So the holes I punched now give me guidelines as to where to drill on this. Once you've drilled the holes, you can see here I obviously already have, because I had mine mounted. I only took it off for this video. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to carefully pick this guy back up. Always take care of your electronics. I always put this assembly also out of the way when I'm not using it. I regularly dust and blow this off so I don't get dust in there. And I do need to engineer some kind of like, some kind of felt thing or something, like little bristles or something on this to keep dirt out of there, especially if I choose to oil it. Next, okay, so the first hole is the easiest. So I can raise my knees up here and show you my setup. Yeah, I've gotten so used to playing on my lap that, so we're going to push this bolt through. First one's easy. There we go. And then we can just screw that in a little bit. All right. Okay, good enough. Don't go, obviously never go tight on the first one. Make it just loose enough so you have some slack. And now for, sorry, it's on the floor here. The second one, we just need to, you can either feel for it or you can look, sorry, there we go, for the hole to appear. Oh, looks like I found it. Okay, so you're going to want to hand tighten them as much as you can before you get the wrench out. Make sure they're both finger tight. I hate to tell you all how to do fasteners, but not everyone is like super handy with tools. Once they're hand tight, this is why I use a 10 millimeter. I mean, it's just so common. So we'll just, that's good. Don't have to make it super tight. Number one mistake of people fastening things who are not experts with tools is they make things too tight. Like, these ain't coming off, and if they do, I'll just give it another twist, but just till it's nice and firm. We don't want to bind anything up. We definitely don't want to destroy our desktop, you know, too much with a huge indent of the washer or anything. And then I'm going to go ahead. I do have this pad here. So I'm going to mount this Velcro pad back on where it was. So it sits nicely over my lap. And there you go. That's, oops, cut my headphone cord there. That's really the basics of mounting and adjusting and customizing your Thrustmaster T16000M FCS. It has a long name, doesn't it? All right, guys, that's the basics of customizing, mounting, and adjusting this setup, and it works really well. Like I said, I didn't want to do a review of this stick because everyone reviews this stick. There's tons of reviews of this stick online. It is very good. This is probably the best stick you're going to get for under $500. Everyone I talk to, if they can't afford the Warthog, which is like, we're talking a $500 HOTAS. This at between 130 and 150 is the next best setup you're going to get until you jump into the $500 or more range. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was informative. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'm Dark Dally. I will catch you guys next time.